Kate is a U.S. Marine Corps veteran and CEO of VetCom. She says our current migrant influx is stripping federal funds away from some of the most deserving citizens in our country, veterans.
We're sanctioning the breaking and entering of our country. We need to build the wall, force people to a point of entry, couple that with a reform on immigration so people can actually get through the process in a timely manner and not think that the best way forward is to break in. It is a fact that people are not all coming here for asylum. They make up less than 5% of the people that are coming. So everyone else is coming for all the freebies or because they have ill will toward our country or to bring drugs in or whatever other horrible things that they are trying to do. I think our open border serves as an organized attack on our citizens. Our homeless veterans have been most impacted by this migrant crisis. As a Marine Corps veteran wanting to defend my country, I defend fiercely veterans' rights every single day. When you look at your fellow brothers and sisters that are suffering, that are killing themselves, where homeless veterans are dying on the street, how in America do we let them be deprioritized behind anyone, let alone a non-citizen? We, the Republic, we will go quietly into the night if we don't fight back.
So what'd that razor wire set you back?
$300 or so, not the millions that they say it takes to patch the wall, about $300.
This is an issue that's obviously controversial. What moved you to want to go down there and do that?
Well, I help veterans every day. You know, we put $924 million in veterans' pockets of lifetime income last year. And the vets were saying, hey, you know, they're taking our spots in VA healthcare. There's been a 19% rise in veteran homelessness. And in going to research it, I realized they reallocated the VA HUD-VASH program, which is to house homeless veterans, and now it's being used to house migrants. And they say, Kate, we love you. You're running for Congress. You're doing all this good work. But what are you going to do about the border? And I saw a nightly program that showed thousands of immigrants coming around the end of the wall in San Diego. I said, how hard can it be to get some razor wire and just go down there and secure the border? And that's really, I did it on the behalf of my fellow brothers and sisters that have served and to protect my own little son.
Yeah. And you say we have 33,000 homeless vets and 1.3 million at the brink. Right? And so every resource, every bit that we can bring to bear on this threshold issue is a big deal.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I mean, 33,000 homeless vets, that's literally sleeping on the street. You could fill some ballparks with just homeless veterans to give you the gravity of the situation. But the 1.3 at the brink are already sleeping in cars. That's why I try to put money in their pockets so that they have money. But how dare we as a nation be so cavalier with those funds that we are willing to import migrants into our country so that we can reallocate those funds meant for veterans to them.
You say there's been over 150,000 migrants seen in VA hospitals in the last few years.
I don't think anyone other than a veteran should be seen in that hospital. I'm a 100% disabled Marine Corps vet. My own family is not even going to get seen in a VA hospital. Why would we ever let anyone other than a veteran be seen there or claims to be processed? You have people dying because there's no continuity of care for their PTSD. 22 veterans a day kill themselves. 15 homeless vets die on the street per day. 85% of them go unclaimed, get put in the trash essentially. But we're more worried about what are we going to do for all these people from all around the world than we are our nation's veterans. And quite frankly, I find it disgusting and appalling, and I think the American people would agree with me.
Yeah. And Robert, you say America has never supported or taken care of its vets. I mean, you don't disagree with that. You just don't think it should be an either or.
You know, I find it interesting. We tend to pit the least of these against each other in this country. I believe that in a country we have an $878 billion military budget, that we should be able to care for our veterans. We should not have them having to fight back and forth for shelter space. Imagine you fought for this country, you sacrificed your life for this country, and you're fighting for shelter space. We need to have a system in place where we're putting forth the money that is necessary to give them the type of dignity that they deserve in their post-career, make sure they have the health care they deserve. But that's not the fault of migrants who are showing up. The kid showing up from Guatemala a week ago who was looking for a sandwich is not the person who's costing our military veterans their place and their dignity and their economic opportunities. There might be those $13 billion aircraft carrier to a building, the new $2 billion B-2. We can reallocate military budgets, as we do every single year, to ensure that our veterans are fully taken care of, and also take care of people who arrive here, and also have comprehensive immigration reform so we can solve the problem going forward.
Reallocating $1 of the actual active duty military budget that is supposed to give us readiness to go to war has nothing to do with the budget for the Veteran Benefit Administration. They're not even in the same bucket. Why would we steal one nickel of the funds from our active duty military to help anyone else who is not fighting for our country as well? And you are right, it isn't at the feet of the migrants, it's at the feet of the administration that would invite them here, knowing they don't have a path to citizenship, knowing that when these funds run out and they get in office, no one's gonna help the 10 million people that came here, and they're gonna end up broken, poor, and homeless here too. And then the homeless industrial complex can come in and sweep all their funds too and do absolutely nothing. Wait for one more year till these migrants become more people on our streets, just like our veterans.
The reason we have a crisis right now is because of the administration's policies. So
We have
never had 8 million people cross illegally into our country. Okay, we've never had this. My husband is a Border Patrol agent. Okay, I'm a Border Patrol wife. I know what our Border Patrol agents go through every single day. Okay, we were getting 10,000 illegal crossings per day in South Texas. We didn't have the resources, the manpower. Our Border Patrol agents are exhausted. Many have committed suicide as well.
Well, if you look back historically, when we had a welcome mat out for immigrants many, many years ago, a lot of them came, stayed, and then went home because it wasn't a welfare state at the time. And listen, again, I'm very pro-immigration, but we have to do it in a way that everybody pulls their own weight. And when we come back, Kate says homelessness among veterans has increased 19%. She says in San Diego, 80% of unclaimed veterans' remains are cremated and just disposed of. It's terrible. We'll be right back. Life is full of surprises, and emergencies often strike when we least expect them. But preparation is key, and that's where Jace Case comes in. With Jace Case, you'll have essential emergency prescription medications right at your fingertips, ready when you need them most. Whether it's an unexpected illness or a travel mishap, having the right meds on hand can turn a potential crisis into just a minor inconvenience. Don't let the unexpected catch you off guard. Jace Case gives you peace of mind so you can tackle life surprises with confidence. Be ready. Take charge today. Head over to jace.com. That's JASE.com. And when you check out, use the code PHIL, spelled PHIL, to get a discount on your order and to have the right meds on hand the moment you need them.
Down here patching up the border today, and we always like to see what we can find. I'm holding a bunch of passports from different countries around the world. I got Pakistan, Ecuador, China. I got some Ethiopia. It's time that we wake up in our nation. We cannot turn a blind eye to the fact that people are getting across our border who have ill will toward us. A totally separate group of people for those seeking asylum, and we have to stop putting them in the same bucket because it is a massive national security risk.
Are you concerned at all that we have people coming across the border that their interests are not aligned with America?
I think we should have a concern about that, absolutely. And this is why my interest is in fixing the actual system, of putting in the actual legislation that is necessary so that we have a pathway to citizenship for individuals who want to come across legally. My mom came to America legally in 1982. She became a citizen in 2008. Because that's how long our system takes for people to gain legal status in this country.
That's terrible.
We have to put in place the types of reforms necessary. We need more immigration judges. We need more lawyers. We need to make sure we have enough courts so we can hear asylee claims in a reasonable period of time. But as long as it becomes a political football that we get to kick back and forth, we will continue to have no action on immigration since 1986. We've always had a group that we wanted to keep out, and never in history has the group that wanted to keep people out been the people we thought were the victors in the end.
America doesn't want anybody out. I'm from Mexico, okay? So we should always encourage people to come here legally. Do you know that how dangerous it is? So you support people crossing illegally into our country?
What I support
Do
is
you
the type,
support, yes or no?
I would support the type of immigration reform
Okay, but do you
that I've been
support
talking about for the
people-
last several
But
minutes.
is it a
we
yes
have
or
to
no?
pass new laws in
But
order for people to be able to do
Do you support
so.
people crossing illegally?
No, I want everyone to come here legally, just like my mother
Thank you.
did.
So we should always encourage legal immigration. That's why we need policies that encourage that. Right now, we have millions of people that are in line waiting for an opportunity to come here to the United
Well,
States.
the
They need to
system
be
is clearly
prioritized.
broken when it takes 7 to 10 years to get a court date. I've always thought if maybe they'd take those 86,000 new IRS agents and turn them into turn them into processors to get an immigration court going, that maybe we'd speed things up about 10 years.
I agree. We need immigration reform. If you want to pretend that the reason that you're so compassionate toward people coming is because you need a workforce, then build workforce housing where they can live for 2 to 3 years while they get vetted, while they can stay safe with their families, while they have a roof over their head and can start to pay into the tax system and start to actually work here, learn English so that they can actually integrate. What we do now is shove them all over the country. So in the 2030 census, we could redistrict everything, not caring that they'll never integrate into regular school, that we're marginalizing the Latina and the Black communities that you find in these poorer areas. We need massive reform, but those are the things we need.
And, Irina, when you came legally and you went through the process and you were patient and took the time, but you went through the system.
Right, and even after I became permanent resident, nothing changed. I just kept keep contributing, and never took out anything from the governmental help.
Yeah.
Because I felt other people needed more than I. So I'm young, I'm healthy, I can work, so that's what I continue to do.
Yeah, and you worked and went to school.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right, after the break, a man whose family stayed in this country illegally and eventually became a citizen, he and his immigration attorney wife now fight to help migrants find a way to citizenship. After the break. Did you know that high blood pressure is the #1 risk factor for mortality? 1 in 2 adults has it. That's a 50-50 chance you are a walking time bomb. But here's the good news. You can take control of your blood pressure naturally without relying on Big Pharma. 120 Life combines delicious super fruit juices proven to help lower blood pressure. Backed by hundreds of doctors and trusted by thousands with real results, it's a solution you can rely on. The best part? It's risk-free. Try it for 2 weeks. If your numbers don't improve, you get your money back. Lower blood pressure or your money back. Nothing to lose, everything to gain. Go to 120life.com. That's 120life.com and use code PHIL, P-H-I-L, to save 15% and get free shipping. This is serious. This is your life we're talking about. 120 Life can help. Well, Kathleen and Alejandro say there's no point in trying to close our borders because migrants will always find a way through. In fact, Kathleen says, in her experience, migrants are harder working and more patriotic than Americans.
My firm handles about 3,000 cases annually, and almost all of my clients call me wanting a work permit. People who are very anti-immigration, they don't have any problem with Americans living off the government, Americans maybe committing crimes. It's really about immigrants, and they group them up as a whole, and I think it has racist undertones. I am pro-immigration because it's not really a political issue, in my opinion, because immigration is unstoppable. We can't prevent it, but we need to do something about how they come in, because we will not stop them from coming here. We need to be smarter about it. Immigrants are not here for handouts. They're not here to rely on the government. They come here for opportunity the same way everybody else has come here for centuries, for opportunity to be able to feed their families. That is their only concern when they call me. I have never had an immigrant ask for some kind of stimulus check, ask for the ability to get Medicaid. That is not their concern. I have children clients, asylees, who come by themselves. Their parents send them from like Guatemala all the way up to Mexico, to the border, risking their own lives because it's so bad at home. They'd rather have their children risk their lives to come here and be detained for months, almost years, and eventually deported than living in their home country.
Well, thank both of you for being here. You're an attorney,
Yes,
and you take asylum cases.
correct.
How many do you take a month?
I don't take too many, and that is because no one really qualifies for asylum. So when people call me, they're not asking for asylum. They're asking for a work permit, a visa, a green card. Usually asylum is a last-minute resort if they are already in removal proceedings, so I use it as a defense, so maybe 10-ish a month.
When you say they don't qualify for it, they have to show some really dangerous, threatening situation, scenario in their home country that would be life-threatening to return to.
Correct. In order to show that you qualify for asylum, you have to prove that a fear of persecution in your home country. But not just that. You also have to prove that if you were to go anywhere in your home country, that persecution or that fear would follow you.
You're a mechanical engineer, right?
Yes,
And you had a visa, right?
that's correct.
But you overstayed?
That's correct.
And how did that work out?
Well, my brothers and I entered the US when we were about 6 years old on a tourist visa, and we overstayed. My mom ended up divorcing my real dad and met someone that is a US citizen. Eventually, they got married, and that was our path to becoming a US citizen. Had my mother not met someone that's a US citizen, then I would have had to maybe find alternative methods. I think we all here agree that the current immigration laws, regardless of which either side of Dr. Phil you're sitting on, they need to be addressed.
Part of me understands if I'm in a tough spot and I can't go home, don't want to go back to my home country for X reason, and it's going to be 10 years before I get a chance to get through an immigration court or whatever, I wonder how much of this would be solved if there was an expeditious way to get an immigration standing. If you went to a port of entry and you could get processed in some legal way, I wonder if we're creating part of the problem by having such a backlog. I wonder if we're creating part of the problem by having such a backlog.
Yeah, the whole system needs a revamp. I mean, really, in order to get a green card in this country, you have to violate the terms of your visa, get lucky, and get married. Why can't we earn our green cards based on merit? It's a piece of paper. Why can't we give the people the ability to work? Those people that you see in that shelter, they're calling me, asking to get out of that shelter and to get a work permit. I have to tell them, no, that's going to take you 20 years, and I hope you get lucky and get married, or maybe you win the lottery, the diversity visa lottery. But there's no way to give them a work permit. They are not asking for handouts. They are not asking to be prioritized over Americans.
They are asking for handouts, $450 billion last year in housing and caring illegal immigrants.
If you come here from a war-torn country and someone provides you food and water, you're not going to say no. But what they're doing is they're calling me, getting those handouts, saying, I don't want this anymore. I want to earn it. I want to earn my ability to work.
You just stated that the majority don't qualify for asylum, and the majority that are actually coming into the country right now are claiming asylum. So you're right. The majority do not qualify, so they should be sent back to their country because they don't qualify for asylum.
So I want to look at the cost of the migrant influx per year. The estimates say that it's somewhere between 150 and 451 billion tax dollars, and that 59% of migrant households use one or more major welfare programs versus 39% of households headed by a U.S.-born individual, and that major welfare programs estimate illegal immigrants receive $42 billion in benefits. So there is a cost. Now, this doesn't include the offset because a lot of them do work and do pay taxes, which pay in, to offset some of these costs.
Well, to that point, there's some estimates saying that the economic contribution to our country is around $2 trillion a year. If you look at our agriculture industry, if you look at our manufacturing industry, if you look at our hospitality industry, look at any restaurant that you go to. Those are dependent primarily on migrant labor and primarily undocumented migrant labor. And part of the reason we have not gotten the type of immigration reform that we need is the top 1% of this country enjoys having undocumented labor that they can pay under the table, that they enjoy having people they do not have to provide health care benefits for, they don't have to provide workers' comp for, they don't have to provide a living wage for, they can still pay them out of pocket. We had a pilot program in Georgia about a decade ago where we wanted to get rid of illegal immigrant labor in South Georgia farms and replace it with prison labor. The prisoners wouldn't do the work. They would rather stay in prison than have to do work that these migrants are doing in many agriculture industries around this country. So when we talk about our GDP is $5 trillion, so we're spending half of 1% on migrants, and they're contributing $2 trillion to our economy. So this is why we have to fix the system, create visa programs, create H-1B visa programs, housing programs for individuals, guest worker programs, but it won't happen if we cannot get anything passed through Congress.
I was a farm worker, worked in Georgia
So was I.
in the onion
So was I.
fields. I worked in the cotton fields. I did hoeing since I was 13 years old. It is hard work. You're right. But why should we want anybody here undocumented doing that type of work, right? Because they can take advantage of these people. So that's why it's so important to, focus on legal immigration
We're
bringing
saying the
people,
same thing.
right? And
We
bringing
realize
people
we're saying the
here
exact same thing in different
legally.
words.
But there's people in line right now wanting those opportunities to come here. We should never support illegal immigration because we need people to work, in the farm, and because we need people to clean homes, and because that's taking advantage. Someone who supports that is because they support cheap labor.
Well, what they support is indentured servitude.
To take advantage.
That is
Which
what's going
yeah,
on.
that's not good.